Hello everyone, this is 3D printed animatronic creature part 45. This is just an update. Just getting everything kind of prepped. About to start setting up the VSA, but I had to do wire work and make some adjustments to some linkages. But I did some other things too, like trying to make some type of a form to cover underneath the collar area, the chest plate area. Just doing some testing, see if I like it. And I had some other design things that I've been working on too. I even thought about putting a full body on this little alien creature. Nothing as far as the detail of skin, but just something to, I could probably put some kind of baby clothes on it and make it move, because it's about 33 inches long head to toe. But I've been working on that and working on other things too, like this little other the next big creature. Now, this will probably have about 14 servos in the head, but this is just me doing a concept designing. Now, that box behind there is that new bamboo printer that has the bigger build platform. I just wanted to see if I could do the exact same thing for this design as I did for the 3D printed animatronic creature. But this would have a lot more movements and don't really know what I'm going to do with the mouth yet because it's going to have to be a little lower. And I thought about like an insect thing, but still, it would be kind of difficult to get that many servos in it. But I've been working on, a conventional, like a human mouth type, but it could probably have some fangs or something. But I even thought about doing it like a bug kind of creature, like a kind of a, predator look. But I really don't want that. I want something different and original. But but overall, you have about, in the human face, you have about 43 movements or 43 muscles, they say. But, that would be equaled out. 43 movements would be like 43 servos. That's a lot of servos, even for small ones. But I also been working on this wolf. I'm about to test it. We're going to get a servo controller and get it up and running. I don't think I don't have anything in as far as the muzzle doesn't work. The jaw just opens and the eyes blink and the ears move. It's just a test. But also, I've been working on these big Hulk teeth, and now this is a pretty good size arch for some human-looking teeth. But as you see here, I'm just doing a salt and pepper method as far as pouring in dental acrylic, just getting these so I can carve away any excess tooth acrylic so I can replace it with gum. Once again, I'm using dental acrylic and monomer, and I'm curing them in a pressure pot at probably about 15 pounds of pressure, and then I just kind of trim up this with a wheel and some discs, get in between the gingivas and things like that, just to make sure I can seat these back in. But I have more video on this. But I just wanted to show you what I've been doing because it's been kind of a busy month. Had a lot of things going on this month, and but mainly in health and just overall things. You think you're getting ahead, but you just get further behind. But this was another thing I had trouble with. This beam right here was in this animatronic. Well, this beam was too long, and I did a test a while back, but I forgot to remove it. And I was designing these linkages right here for the neck, and I kept having them. They were somewhat too short and well, I made them too long, but it didn't make any sense, and that was the problem. That center rotational axis for the gimbal was just too long, about 24 millimeters too long. So replaced it with original, what the one was supposed to be in there, and it fixed it. But I've been getting this thing really prepped so I can put the skin on, but like I need to set up the servo controller, and I need to set up VSA. And first, I got to make sure that these wires reach because this head's going to have that has 8 servos in it is going to be rotating, and I'm using extensions, and I want to just make sure that everything is in its correct position. Now, before I set up my VSA, on your servo controller, you have the numbers set for that channel. But I got to make sure that I have enough, I guess, enough slack in the wires when it rotates, it doesn't catch. And all of these were going to go in this so-called hole next to the controller. Well, later on, you'll see where I changed that design to where I want it to go underneath the animatronic. And once, earlier in an earlier video, you I had said that I was going to replace these stands, the last that's up against the base, with you know, some some beams and things, and you'll see me change those too. But here is a servo with a servo reverser with Y cables, and this is what I'm getting. If I don't have a servo reverser, this is what I'll have. But on the animatronic design, we have one servo that is reverse, and that's the blink mechanism. And it has to be done correctly, and it has to be put on the one that we originally did it in the very beginning. So it, it's on the left eye. If you look from behind, that has the servo controller. I mean, that has the servo reverser. So overall, I'm just trying to thread everything. But once again, I kind of have the servo controller by itself. It's just going to be probably more likely just tucked underneath there and stuck down with probably some Velcro or something like that, so I can able to get inside there. When I remove the glass dome, I can program it to what I want it to do, and it will just play its routine. But and I like having mine hooked up directly to the computer because you can just always program something into it. But now this, the servo controller is a really good servo controller, and I'm happy with it. But right here, I am testing with the RC radio, each mechanism, making sure that everything is centered. And I don't want to put it in there where it's like I might have moved it or whatever. I want to put it in there and find its center for each movement. And this is the eyelids. And then I have the brow, the center upper lip, the lower lip, the jaw. And there's a certain placement on this servo controller that it needs to be. Now I have this on channel 0, and it goes through 0 through 12. So, but I'm just going to basically demonstrate how I'm just hooking this up to the servo controller, so then I can set up uh, BSA servo controller, so we can get a routine going. And as you see here, this is what I have so far. And but you'll see here on the right here the listing of the channels all the way. There's 11 channels, but they have 0 in the number system. But and as you see here, I have my eyelids, brow, center lip, upper lip, lower lip, jaw, right gimbal, left gimbal, and turn gimbal. And that's the way it's going to be set up on the software. And I got to make sure when I have that set up, I need to make sure to put stops on the servo controller software VSA to where I don't want to move that servo too many degrees to the left or to the right. I need to make sure that I can pretty much set that up correct to where I don't, uh, open the jaw too far, you know, and or close the eyelids too close where it could actually damage it. So I need to put the degree of a stop inside to control this whole mechanism for the animatronic things. But I'll do a routine, but this will probably be later on during next week. I'm just trying to get this all set up, and then I can also finish herring the skin, and then as soon as that's finished, I can put the skin on the animatronic, and we can get this creature to come alive. I am getting kind of excited because I really want to get this animatronic creature, moving. And we have 10 channels, 11 servos, because one of the servos is reversed for the eyelids. But as soon as we get this done, we can really start animating it. And I feel like doing this is kind of like a form of go motion animation, because you're moving a little bit at a time, and when you with VSA software, you're doing the mixing as you're programming the animatronic to move like you want it to move. And that's why I've been using it since 2004 and I love it. But but as you see here, I'm still going through the testing of each movement. And as you see here, this is the center lip, and it's really not going to go, most of the movements is just a few millimeters. and and that's what I'm wanting to get all, you know, I guess tweaked out, just make sure everything's is correct, everything's got power, because I wouldn't want to put an animatronic skin on and not sure if the servo's working right, or that, because once again we're going to probably have to secure this with a type of adhesive, and more likely that uh that smooth on adhesive used for silicone. But as you see here, I'm removing that back, I guess, organized plate for all the wires and the servo controller. And I just, this right here, what it was doing, the wires would be inserted there, and I could never put the glass dome on. And even though, it doesn't have to be covered, but yet I would feel better if it was that way, you know, it would be protected. And, it's, it's a big project for this kind of, once again, I, this whole project here is about a $2,500 project, and little bit, maybe a little more, a little less, but that's pretty much how it's going to go. Now that one I mentioned earlier that had 14 servos in the head, you know, 14 servos and good ones at that would probably be close to $1,000, if not more. But as you see here, I'm just kind of uh, I have it here on this, just a simple plate, and I'll just tuck it underneath it. And now, right here with the collar, the chest piece right here, where silicone's going to be laying, I was wanting to design. I do like the beam look, but the beams are not inserted yet. But then I could just cover this whole thing to cover up any wires or anything like that. But I did another design, kind of a more of a drape that inner circle would be covered. But it just trying to figure it out. And then that's when I started doing this, I said, man, I could just design a body for it. And I had been doing that too. It's just always trying to design a better animatronic or see if it could be done. But overall, this would just all be tucked underneath the animatronic itself and just stuck with some Velcro, and then I could just still program it. And plus, I got power wires going underneath the whole, design, so I could run the power to it. Because you have to have the power for the servos for the servo controller. The servo controller is controlled by a USB, and I did get a USB and a longer 12-foot cord, so I could just program it from a distance. But overall, I'm happy with it. I'm getting excited. I'm ready to put the skin on. Yeah, but as you see here, I'm going to change out these. Now, these on the wooden base now are standoffs that I'm going to put these other, these hole beams from Smooth On City, and it's going to bump it up a little bit, about 16 millimeters higher. And it's a little higher now, but yet I'll be able to push that servo controller underneath it, because the turn gimbal servo is what's blocking it. So I had to give me a little bit more space, so I just made it a little higher, and it's not going to interfere with the glass dome that goes over. And overall, I just want it to be a nice display, just to be able to display this animatronic. And but once again, we have 11 servos and a full head silicone mask to put on this animatronic, and we'll be able to get this thing up and running before you know it. But I'm getting excited, but it's just the planning part and making sure that you have this all ready for the skin, and then you got to attach the skin to the animatronic, and then we can start programming some movements. And I'll probably program some movements before I actually put on the animatronic skin. And then that way, as soon as we get it all connected, all the skin placements as far as the stick points, and we can just run that routine and see how it looks. And then I have to I'm gonna probably add a tongue to the teeth for this animatronic. But as you see here, I got clearance, and it's you know, it's coming along. I mean, all this is going to be covered with its chest plate here, and then I'm going to have that covered. You won't see none of this. And plus, I have 3 more wires to connect, and that's the gimbal, which is 3 servos for the gimbal. But it's coming along. I'm happy with it. It's at a good height, and but I appreciate y'all and thank y'all for all the questions. And I try to answer them, y'all. It's just been a crazy month. But thank y'all, and thank y'all for subscribing and likes and the comments. Keep them coming. But once again, appreciate y'all. Thanks.